After a fairly successful history and a growing fan base made up of almost 2 decades worth of games, Animal Crossing New Horizons promised to be the culmination of everything that had come before it, and it would propel the franchise to new heights. Now, this new Animal Crossing game was primed to be the best Animal Crossing game the franchise has ever seen. It was on the best hardware the franchise has ever seen, and it had access to constant online updates, which means that content was meant to be plentiful. All of this was meant to prolong the life of the game and make it feel fresh, innovative, and above all else, keep it alive. Animal Crossing's New Horizons should have been the absolute pinnacle, a pillar in the Switch's library, and by far the best Animal Crossing game we've ever seen. But it kind of fell flat. So what went wrong? Well, when this game released in March of 2020, it felt unbaked and unfinished, and to me, a little uninspired. To be sure, financially, this was one of the most successful Animal Crossing games, and this was only helped by the pandemic that forced everyone into their homes. However, as the world has moved on and we can retrospectively look back at what the latest installment held for us, the cracks start to show. Now let's first take a look at the game's content and content update, because I feel that is one of the most important things about this game itself. On the surface, this Animal Crossing game seems to be like most others. You could fish, catch bugs, donate items to the museum, plant and harvest crops, expand your house, and have villagers move to your island. It's pretty par for the course for any Animal Crossing game. However, what most people seem to forget was that the updates to this game simply made the game whole again, rather than elevate an already completed game. What was added as extra content into this game was just a disguise of content that was missing or taken away from previous games and added back into New Horizons, all with a gift wrapping to say, here you go, here's some extra content. For example, swimming. Swimming was not available at the launch of this game in March of 2020. It was added 4 months later in the summer update. Now, this was a basic feature that you could get at the start of New Leaf, but it was removed entirely from New Horizons. And then when they announced that swimming was coming back in, there were so many positive reactions just to have a feature return that was given to us at the start of the previous game. On top of that, the swimming itself didn't add anything to the existing mechanic. All you could do is swim and dive. There was no real innovation, and again, it did not elevate the already existing mechanic. It just reintroduced players to what was taken from them. Another example is Brewster and the Roost cafe. In Animal Crossing New Leaf, you simply needed to finish renovations on the second floor of the museum, wait a week and have donated at least 50 items, then you'll unlock the cafe. How did New Horizons handle Brewster and the Roost cafe? Well, you couldn't actually unlock the cafe at all. It just wasn't a part of the game until the 2.00 update released on 4th of November in 2021. That's right, that is an entire 1 year and 8 months of waiting for a core and beloved feature to return to the game. And all of this was under the pretense of new content being added. To me, it kind of feels like if a parent grabbed one of your toys, took it away from you, gift wrapped it, and gave it back to you at Christmas and says, here you go, here's a gift. It's not really a gift because I already owned it. You just stole it from me and you gave it back to me in gift wrap. I'm now in a position of no loss. Nothing has been elevated or changed. You've just given me back what I already had. Now, the 2.00 update was one of the last major free updates for the game, and with that, admittedly, did come with a lot of additional content. However, what that means is that for the 1 year and 8 months it took for this update to come out, things like Captain's Mysterious Island tours, which were separate to Dodo's Island, were missing from the game. This island allowed you to even possibly visit somewhere in a different hemisphere so you could gain access to different seasonal specific fish or bugs rather than waiting 6 months for real seasons to pass, or trying to go to a friend's house in a different hemisphere. Gyroids, Katrina, Tortimer, among other things were also added in this update. Again, 1 year and 8 months of all of this extra content just missing. It feels like they just dumped everything back into the game after almost 2 years after this game was released. Now, keeping with this theme, most of the things that were added were actually present in some way in Animal Crossing New Leaf. In terms of Animal Crossing New Horizons game content alone, there appears to be just less to do in New Horizons compared to New Leaf. There are no minigames, there's something like 8 shops or buildings to visit compared to the almost 20 in New Leaf. New Horizons did add terraforming, but changing the landscape one square at a time became so tedious. And hey, your items are now breakable. That's right, in previous games you couldn't break them, but for an Animal Crossing game where it's cozy and meant to be relaxing, you're now forced to think about the durability of your tools. Now in Animal Crossing New Leaf, you did have one item that could break, which was your axe. However, if you upgraded it to the golden axe, it would never break. You would never have to think about it. But for some reason, they decided to add that mechanic into most of the tools in this game, and it's just annoying. Now pair that with the fact that you cannot build multiple items in once or a bulk crafting system, it made making tools so tedious. Now alongside that free 2.00 update, there was another substantial bit of content added called Happy Home Paradise. However, this was exclusive to paying customers only. You know, you bought the console and you bought the game at full price, but now they're asking you to pay $25 US to have extra features added to the game. Now these features did actually build upon the foundations of what was set in this Animal Crossing game, and it actually did make the game stand out to a degree. In this paid DLC, you get a variety of things like taking on clients to design their vacation homes, and even you can put partitioned walls in. You know, the things that people have been asking for to be in the main game at the very start. Now do be aware that the features added in this Happy Home Paradise DLC are strictly tied to that specific location in the DLC. What I mean by this is that you cannot take the new abilities in that Happy Home Paradise and bring it back to your island, so you can't put up partition walls in your own home. Now I don't make this video a comparison between New Leaf and New Horizons, but let's have a look at how New Leaf treated its players to further explain how New Horizon players were screwed over. As mentioned, swimming and the cafe were obtainable from the start in New Leaf. There were more buildings to interact with, and there were mini games, and there were also multiple new locations to go to. When talking strictly about DLC, in 2016 they added Harvey's Campground that unlocked an entire new area for you to explore. You get unique items, and even special villages come back to your own town. There was a desert island escape game added, which sent 3 villagers to an island and they need to gather materials to build a raft and escape the island. There was also a puzzle league game added too, so they've just been adding games within the game. They also added town initiatives, which, if completed, gave you Meow coupons. This was clearly the predecessor for what we now know as Nook Miles, and these could be spent at Harvey's campsite to obtain exclusive items or be exchanged for bells. There was also an additional storeroom that added to your storage. There were quality of life changes when it came to customizing rooms, and even to those who wanted to restart their town. In New Leaf, if you wanted to have a fresh start, you could actually sell your town to Tom Nook, and when you go ahead and start the new town, you would be starting with whatever Tom Nook paid for your previous town. This means that those first few hours of grinding to get bells are completely eradicated, and you can have a fresh and quick start in your new town. Now, all of these updates for the DLC in Animal Crossing New Leaf weren't free. A lot of this required payment in some form, and even through amiibos. But do you see the difference here? There is such a variety of content that every player can pick out something that suits them. Another incredible thing too is that if you already had existing amiibos, some of them could even work in the Animal Crossing New Leaf game to give you additional content. For example, if you had a Splatoon or a Zelda themed amiibo, you could tap that and get exclusive themed items or even characters. It was just a way for you to further engage with this game, take advantage of the amiibos that you might have already had, and it helps to elevate your experience in New Leaf. So what do we get in Animal Crossing New Horizons? Well, as I said before, you get that Happy Home Paradise DLC, which is $24.99 USD. And if you don't like decorating, well, too bad, because that's basically all that you can do in this DLC. But what about that nifty Amiibo Support feature from New Leaf? Does that carry over into this game as well? Well, no. In this game, the only amiibos that are supported are your Animal Crossing amiibos and the Animal Crossing card amiibos. You cannot tap on existing amiibos like Splatoon or the Legend of Zelda ones to get exclusive franchise-themed content. You know, it's not like Splatoon or Legend of Zelda had some of the biggest releases on this very console that you might want to take advantage of cross-promotion or anything. Nope. Now, even making money in New Leaf was better than New Horizons in my opinion, because you could go to this special island and catch rare beetles at night. This means that at that time of the night, there was always something to do, and it felt amazing when you came back with an inventory full of gold beetles, and it felt like a proportionate and direct reward for all of your efforts. You would need to approach these beetles in a particular way, otherwise they fly off, and when you caught them, you knew that that was because of your effort, your skill. There was thinking behind it. What do you get in New Horizons? Turnips. You buy them, you dig a hole, you plant them, you water them, and then you sell them. There's not much skill around that, and it's not very exciting at all. Now, there are obviously other ways to make money in New Horizons, but I'm comparing one of the most profitable ways in New Leaf and one of the most profitable ways in New Horizons, and you can see that in New Horizons, it's just boring. In New Leaf, it's fun, it's exciting, there's a hunt to it, there's a bit of skill. I just didn't care for turnips, and I didn't care for making money in this new game at all. The updates for New Horizons just didn't feel like updates. They either pertain to very niche players who only like to decorate, and if you fall outside of that niche, then too bad for you. All other updates really only gave you special themed clothing or features and buildings in the game that were taken out, only to be added back to make the game feel whole again. I mean, New Horizons still hasn't even added simple quality of life changes that players have been begging for, like bulk crafting. And I mean, if we are going to be talking about things that need to be added or changed in New Horizons, let's go down that rabbit hole. Give us an ability to decorate our islands with friends in co-op mode. Get rid of the ridiculously long wait times when installing the most mundane and insignificant things in our islands, like a bridge. You really want me to wait an entire day just for a bridge to be installed after I funded the entire thing? No thanks. Either give me the bridge or I'm going to be using my pole to get over those small bodies of water every single time. It's just punishing the player for achieving certain things within the game. And while we're talking about time frames, why are we even still waiting on a real life clock? Take a leaf from Stardew Valley where there is an in-game day and night cycle. Get it off our real-time clocks. We should be able to go to bed and wake up in the morning and the bridge will be there in our same play session. We shouldn't have to be forced to turn off our game and come back the next day or cheat the system and push our clock forward just to get something as small as a bridge. This game could have been a complete revolution to the Animal Crossing franchise. It could have removed all the pain points that plagued this series in previous games, while also expanding the franchise with new and exciting innovations, but it didn't. The updates were uninspired, unimaginative, and the game is solely being kept alive by the modding community who are creating better assets and mods for the game than what Nintendo have ever added. Now, I guess what's the most frustrating thing for me here is that this game had everything going for it. It had the best hardware that this game franchise has ever been exposed to. It had always online access so content could be readily and always pushed out, but it never seized the opportunity to take advantage of all of that potential. This game was meant to be the pinnacle of the Animal Crossing franchise. In the instance where any true change or innovations actually took place in this game, they locked it behind the paywall for the Happy Home Paradise DLC. I can only hope that in the next Animal Crossing game, whenever that may be, takes what's good about all past Animal Crossing games and actually improves upon them for a modern audience. I hope that it actually innovates and elevates the franchise rather than just giving us more of the same. There are so many life and farming sims that have been released or are going to be released that take what Animal Crossing do and with a few simple changes drastically improve the gameplay mechanics. Players are now spoiled for choice within this genre. Animal Crossing has no choice left but to take what they have and innovate it or be left behind. They are no longer the only fish in the sea. But guys, thank you so much for watching that video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments down below. Do you agree with me? Do you think New Horizons could have been better, or do you actually personally like it? It might even be your favorite Animal Crossing game to date. Let me know all your thoughts down below, and while you're down there, if you go ahead and leave the video a like, that would also be greatly appreciated. And I'd like to thank the people who supported me over on Ko-fi. If you do want to support me on Ko-fi and get access to these videos early, please go ahead and follow the link in the description. Any support is greatly appreciated. But that's all for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far, and I'll catch you in the next one.